I love games. I really do. Any platform, any release date, almost any genre. I will play it and I can love it. But if I had to choose my favorite theme, it would be romance. Seriously, like 60% out of my 300 plus games on Steam have at least some romance in them. RPG romance, hack and slash romance, horror romance, farm and sim romance, strategy romance, and most of all, visual novel romance. For those of you who don't know what visual novel is, or VN for short, it's basically choose your own adventure books, as in the whole gameplay is usually you just reading and making choices, but with music, graphics, and sometimes even voice acting. Now, there's as many VN subgenres as there are subgenres of romance books, so like a lot. I prefer otome games, meaning you usually play as a girl and romance bunch of dudes, sometimes with one girl route thrown in. I like a few straight visual novels with male protagonists like Clonade, but I mostly avoid them because they tend to be way too sexual or portray women in kinda icky way, which makes it hard for me to enjoy them. Unfortunately, my love for otome games is not widely shared because new otomes on Steam are pretty rare. So you have to read your favorite otomes for like 15th time, consume little crumbs that each your games are, they're usually pretty short, look wistfully at Nintendo games, or suffer through the hell that mobile otomes are, waiting for a day universe blesses us with a new Steam otome game. Now, imagine the feeling you get when it does, and it has nice graphics, interesting premise, 5 guys to choose from, several endings, good rating on Steam. You'd be pretty excited, no? And now, imagine this feeling getting slowly, painfully crushed like a melon under the hydraulic press. This was pretty much my experience with Mystic Destinies Serendipity of Eons. But I'm getting ahead of myself. First, what is Mystic Destinies Serendipity of Eons? Mystic Destinies Serendipity of Eons, oh my god, it's a mouthful, or MDSOA, is an otome game that was released on Steam on February 11th, 2016. The official description reads: During your first year of university, immense magical powers are forced onto you, thus revealing the supernatural world hidden within ours. But you must learn to control your powers with the help of a partner, or risk destroying everything around you. Will your new fate be one of tragedy or serendipity? So it's a fantasy otome. Say less, I'm buying it, how much is it? Wait, free to play? It sounds too good to be true. Because it is! In reality, free-to-play is only the prologue and the game's first 3 chapters of the route you choose. To read the full route, you need to buy it as DLC, which is an interesting approach. See, the routes were released one at a time, on average once in 2 months, across 2 years. That is not unusual. Indie developers often segment their games because they can't dedicate too much time for the game, life gets in the way, or new content is a part of Kickstarter stretch goals. That's why it's easier and more sustainable to release game progressively, especially if routes are completely self-contained and don't rely much on each other. But usually, the updates with new routes are free, or the route itself is free, but you can buy an upgraded version with more content. In MDSOA case though, every route was listed as separate paid DLC, then further segmented, and the route epilogues are also a separate paid DLC. So how much is it in total? Well, it's 4 routes, $3 each, plus their epilogues, so $4 more. And then there's Hikaru, whose story is separated into books. That's plus $3 more, please. And then there's Deluxe Edition, which is soundtrack and wallpaper, so we can ignore it. Oh, what's that? It also includes short his point of view stories and whatever God of Chaos story is. Okay, then plus $6 more. So to get the full game, full story, you have to shell out $25. That's not a small amount for otome, but hey, it's $35 on itch.io, so there's that. I'm sure it's all worth it, of course, but why did they make it so weird? Like, if you search an otome tag on Steam, this game will show up like free to play, so you would expect it to be free, but then bam, it actually only prologue. Buy to actually read it, dummy. I'm not saying it should be free, it just feels a bit deceptive, you know? But okay, let's not judge a game by its shady pricing tactics. None of it matters if it's good, and it better be good for that price. So, is it? Let's start with a free prologue. The story begins with a young woman, Tsubasa Fujimoto, name is changeable but I went with default, starting her first year of college. She is lost, probably because it's a big and confusing building, not because she's super clumsy, that would be such a stereotype for an Otome protagonist. Oh, she collided with someone because she wasn't looking where she's going. It's probably a clever nod to very popular trope in Japanese media of a girl running to school and colliding with her love interest while turning a corner. Anyway, this guy is Shou. He seems nice, saving Tsubasa from falling, helping her to gather her things, and even pointing out where the classroom she's looking for is. So of course our heroine thinks it's weird, and pushes him out of her mind. What exactly she found strange about the situation still eludes me. After class, Tsubasa goes to lunch, and she forgot her wallet. Well, we all forget things, and she probably was nervous about starting her classes, so it's okay. I'm sure it's not a part of her personality, because clumsy and forgetful protagonist would be pretty annoying, right? Anyway, her wallet is returned by another guy, who wants her to smile as thanks, because she's cute enough. Ew. Tsubasa doesn't mind though, and with her lunch paid decides to eat outside. I'm sure her just eating lunch will go without any trouble. She hears someone talking and laughing, which she thinks is annoying. Antisocial gang. Then she gets startled because her phone rings. With a normal ringtone, it wasn't even EAS alarm or anything. And then the dude thinks she's eavesdropping on him, when it's him who's been super loud apparently. Rude. Now that that interaction is over, Tsubasa finally goes home, where she signs up for a new business club and then gets an email from her mom. Apparently, Tsubasa forgot something at home. Oh no. And also her mom wants to meet up on Saturday, something our protagonist finds strange. Interesting. The next day, she goes to this business club, and the moment she walks into the room, she meets another dude that stops talking when he sees her, and then he just stares at her. Creepy. But our heroine doesn't think so. Instead, she stares back, because his eyes are pretty or something, and you would never believe what happens next. The three dudes she met yesterday are all here. I guess that fact made her so shocked that she still hasn't moved from the doorway. Something that gets called out by another man, rightfully annoyed that he can't come into the room. But of course Tsubasa thinks he is rude. I'm sure you've already guessed it, but these five are our love interests. Tatsuya Yukimura, 3rd year, Shinji Hirayama, 3rd year, Takumi Arai, 1st year and also not in the club apparently, Sho Hattori, 2nd year, and lastly, hella pretty eyes dude, Professor Kazama. Oh god, oh no, not the teacher-student relationship, it can't be. It's okay, it's fine. I'm sure the devs found a way to make this kind of dynamic not weird, it's fine. Let's continue. It's Saturday and our heroine goes to meet her mom. We get a few things from this interaction. Tsubasa has a younger sister, her dad is a businessman, and her relationship with her mom is strained. And now her mom wants to take Tsubasa somewhere. She refuses to tell where, while acting pretty strange. Something that makes her heroine very anxious. The only thing that her mother revealed to her is that they're going to the countryside. And this nothing piece of information leaves Tsubasa completely satisfied and so happy that she thinks she made the breakthrough with her mom. Okay, so her mom is hella toxic and emotionally distant, got it. But hey, it's not like her mother is actually dangerous, she wouldn't actually harm Tsubasa in any way, right? Our protagonist is still her daughter, I'm sure she loves her, right? She drags Tsubasa, and when she wakes up, she finds herself unable to move, her body completely in control of her mother. By the way, Tsubasa somehow doesn't recognize her mother's voice and actually asks, who is it? Who do you think it is, honey? Who else could it be? Tsubasa's mom performs an impressive exposition dump. Her real name is Shizuka, she is the last sorcerer, she is cursed to be immortal. She also found a way to transfer her curse to someone else. No, not her daughter, but the homunculus. That's right. Tsubasa is not her daughter or even human. She was created specifically so that Shizuka can transfer her curse to someone else. Mother of the year, everyone. Tsubasa can ask her one more question, and it's also our very first choice in the game. It's an interesting decision to make the first choice completely pointless. The only thing changes is the next few lines. Who cursed her? Some god, and also she's over 700 years old. Is there any other way to get rid of the curse? No. Does our dad know about this? He is human, he doesn't need to know. Shizuka decides that's enough info for now, drinks some potion and completes the ritual. It hurts real bad, and I guess Tsubasa now super cursed. But she wakes up next morning in her bed meaning it has to be all a dream. So what if she doesn't remember how she got into that bed? So what if it feels more like memories and not a dream? So what if she feels super groggy and has a massive headache? So what if one of her eyes is green? She never looks in the mirror anyway, or any reflective surface. Tsubasa's been signed up to a new class, Mystical Studies. Something she doesn't remember doing, but decides to go anyway, out of curiosity. This class is located in a basement, and the elevator button to get there magically appears out of nowhere. Tsubasa decides she's just tired and hallucinating, so, nothing to worry about. Our professor for magic class turns out to be Kazama. Who else? He starts talking about pocket dimensions, magic realms, and supernatural beings. The windows in the basement have view on the mountains, everyone acting like it's normal, and Tsubasa is freaking out. That's understandable. What's not really understandable is why Professor Kazama has to attack a student for them to show their powers, especially when the said student just told him that they have no idea what the hell is going on. But that's what happens, and of course that student is Tsubasa. He throws some magic ball at her and she dies. Lol, no. Of course, our Mother Dearest not only transferred to us her curse, but also all of her huge and powerful and strongest ever magic. So, Tsubasa blows up the classroom in self-defense and then dies, taking everyone inside with her. The end. I wish. She did blow up the room, but no one was hurt because Professor put up a shield or something. It's the end of Prologue, so we have to hurry up. Prof says Tsubasa is too strong and too dumb to be left alone, so she has to partner up with someone. The choice is between her business club members, because of course they all magic too, duh. And no, Tsubasa can't have any time to process, she has to choose, and she has to choose now. And that's the prologue. So that was, it made me nervous for what's to come, but the hope still lives. I mean, the prologue was the first thing to come out, so it's possible that it was rushed to show backers that VN is being worked on, or the prologue was written a long time ago and not revised for the full game. Anyway, the quality of the prologue is not necessarily indicative of the quality of the full game. That being said, I have a few issues with it. First, the writing feels simplistic and flat. That thing happened, I did that thing, she did that thing, he looked that way. I don't know how to explain it correctly, but it feels less like writing and more like stating the facts. It doesn't really make you feel immersed. Second, MC. She didn't really give me a good first impression. She's clumsy, forgetful, and I find it annoying. She thinks others are rude, weird, or annoying, when in fact she is the problem. Let's be honest, she's kinda dumb. I really hope she gets better in actual routes. Third, love interests. The dudes are given very short introductions, and all of them except Shou had pretty negative first meetings with MC. Yes, I consider Takumi's smile sweetheart interaction to be a negative one. But it's a prologue, so I can't expect their characters to be fully fleshed out already. And lastly, the pacing is pretty strange. Tsubasa's in school, doing school stuff. We are cursed by our immortal sorceress mother, and the school has magic classes, and supernatural creatures are real. Maybe it was written that way so we feel like MC thrown into a known world out of nowhere. Still, I feel like it could have been realized better. Like, we could have been given small hints of supernatural world before we knew it was real. The small ball of light the heroine sees in her peripherals was actually a fairy. Strange disappearances in town were caused by vampires. She saw someone on the street with pointed ears and thought it was cosplay, something like that. Or a heroine is strangely good at art without trying, or shorter than average. Things that could have been connected to her being homunculus. I don't know, the sudden change in setting feels pretty whiplashy, but despite all the red flags, I remain optimistic. This could still be a good VN. I have to believe that. Though maybe we can switch gears for a bit to get rid of the nerves. For example, did this game have a Kickstarter? I bet it was fully funded instantly. That would make me feel better. Okay, yes, they were funded like super fast. Campaign started on September 2nd, 2015, and there is a post about being fully funded on September 8th, 2015. Funded in 6 days, nice. Let's see, they redesigned characters. The old sprites were not bad, but I agree the new ones are better. What else? The link to the alpha demo is dead, but in FAQ we can see that it was basically a short form of the prologue. Speaking of FAQ, the devs said the routes are about 3 to 4 hours in length, and they mentioned Voltage. Why would they mention Voltage? It's not a great role model. If you didn't know, Voltage is a company that makes mobile otome games. They love money, bad translation, toxic relationship, and cringe writing. I mean, some of their games can be funny, but mostly it's trash. Okay, maybe devs have some nostalgia and their favorite otome of all time was Voltage game or something, whatever. What were the reward tiers? The tier rewards are strange. At first it's all pretty standard stuff. Name and credits, bonus mini-story, wallpaper, soundtrack, art book. But at which point do you get the game? Well, it's fragmented even here. You can get one route for $10, $15 if you want Epilogue, or you can get a full game for $50. And for $100 too. The FAQ helpfully explains that the $100 pledge also includes the full sequel game. Sequel, huh? Whatever happened to that, I wonder.
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious.
At higher tiers they offered some physical rewards too, like chibis and badges, but you could exchange those for more story. And there was also some pretty funny rewards for the highest tiers, like self-insert custom story or letters of recommendation from developers. Okay, so $50 for the full story is crazy, segmenting the game even in Kickstarter is weird, and promising a sequel as a reward when the main game is not even out yet is just asking for trouble. Okay. What about stretch goals? Let's see. They raised $3,555, so we should have gotten his point of view stories. Check. More CGs and improved background. Check, I guess. And customizable MC coloring at $3,500. Phew, we barely passed, so check. We didn't get that? Interesting. Maybe they forgot. Or maybe they didn't want to put another darker skin character in their game. I mean, there's already like 3 of them. I don't know. I only know that we cannot customize MC. Oh, and look, if they would raise 6k, we could have had different personalities for MC. Maybe that's why right now she feels so empty. It's possible that the way she is was just a placeholder. Everything makes sense now. Oh, and look, we could have had a female route and the voice acting. The things we missed. And what about the features they promised? 5 dudes, multiple endings, yep. Wait, available on mobile devices and possibility of Steam. No, it can be. No. In order to get programming to Android and iOS. Oh god, it was meant to be a mobile game. It's a mobile Otome game. They strike again. I've been fooled. Had I known this was a mobile game, I would never have gotten my expectations so high. I should have known. No, I refuse to give up. Even mobile Otome games can be good. It's really rare, but it's possible. Was it even released on phones? Okay, it's not on Play Store and I can't check for iOS, but there's probably an APK out there somewhere. Not that I would look for it or download it, that would be illegal. Oh, what's this? Well, since it's already magically installed, why not try it? Yep, it's a mobile Otome. Free prologue, first chapter, pay for the rest. Cool. Alright, so this did not help my nerves, but like I said, consider me colorblind, cause I'ma ignore all of those red flags. I'm going to actually read it and make my own conclusions. So, I will read routes in order they were released, and also I'm going to spoil everything, if that's something you care about. Psst, not from the future, you shouldn't. It will probably take a while, so grab a snack, maybe do some chores, and don't forget to drink water. Here we go! Why was it even here? What was the reason? This road bores me. Wait, Tsubasa, what are you doing? Use your brain, Tsubasa. Shou goes first because his route was released first, but also it just makes sense to go for him. I mean, from the little we saw in the prologue, he seems like a genuinely nice dude. I just hope it's not one of those cases when a nice guy turns out to be nice guy, or he's just nice and has no other personality traits, so boring, you know? I guess we'll see. Tsubasa picks Shou because she met him first and talked to him most. Not a very high bar, she didn't talk to others at all, and apparently she chose the worst person for the job. Tatsuya thinks so, and Shou agrees. But the wise professor decides, why not lol, she can blow you up anyway. And Tsubasa didn't want to pick anyone else because Shou looked like a beaten puppy. Shou decides to take Tsubasa home, and on the way there we find out that Shou is a phoenix, but they're lame in this universe. No bird form, no wings, no resurrection. At least fire can't hurt them, that's why Hikaru mentioned Shou's explosion immunity. They arrive at Tsubasa's apartment and Shou wants to exchange numbers. Pretty reasonable, they are partners now. Yet Tsubasa acts like it's supposed to be a big deal. It's not, girl, chill. She's 20, why is she shy about exchanging numbers with her classmate? As far as we know, she doesn't think he's cute and she doesn't have a crush on him. Is she like extremely socially awkward? If so, we weren't given this information either. I don't know, it's kinda cringe. Before Shou leaves, he warned Tsubasa not to do anything too exciting, you know, so she wouldn't blow up again. Well, guess what happens next? A. Tsubasa does her homework and goes to sleep. B. Tsubasa tries to do some research about the magical world and magical creatures. C. Tsubasa has a panic attack and almost blows up her apartment, but calms down because of the show's message. And the correct answer is B! Just kidding, it's C. And I'm not gonna lie, this part made me giggle. Not her having a panic attack because of her PTSD, she was through some traumatic stuff, but you know what triggered it? Her noticing that one of her eyes is green now. Yep. Only now. So, after chatting with Shou for a minute and making our first important-ish choice, Tsubasa goes to bed. Few days later, she goes to the club room and hears someone talking, so of course she assumes people are talking about her. Tsubasa, sweetie, not everything's about you. In the club room, she gets a text from her dad. He is back in the city and he's looking for Shizuka. And of course these texts trigger another magical panic attack. No one can stop it, Tsubasa can't do anything, another explosion is imminent, until Takumi knocks her out. Tsubasa wakes up in a classroom and nothing interesting really happens for the next few scenes, except Taku teasing Shou with some innuendos, the most ironic choice ever, and some cringe banter that just feels forced. This route is getting pretty boring and it's only second chapter. Probably because we still don't have a clear goal or obstacle or like any plot. Maybe it will get better once we get one of those. But before that happens, everyday boring stuff it is. We do get the crumbs of lore. Shou is still in the beginner's class for some reason. Taku is a human, Tatsu is an ice dragon, Shinji can use magic of the several elements. We also get some dumb moments from Tsubasa. She thinks it's peaceful times, so why learn to fight? Why lock doors if she never got robbed? Why look around while crossing the road if she never got hit by a car? It's a dumb question, so she feels embarrassed for asking it. As she should. After the class, the group decides to hang out for a bit. I don't know why, it's not like any of them are good friends. Some more hints at Shou being magically stunned or something. And, finally, something interesting. Tsubasa forgot her bag in the bathroom, and when she got it back, her things were all mixed up. Nothing is missing, but someone definitely went through her stuff. She thinks it's because she's a rich girl, but I'm sure it's something more interesting. The next day, Shou finally reveals to Tsubasa why he still attends beginner's classes. When he was a child, he was like super good at fire magic, the best to ever do it really. But the puberty hit and his magic became unstable. And now, oh whoa, he can't control his magic at all. It's either 0 or 100. No magic or explosions. And Tsubasa is like, oh my god, samesies. What if, and hear me out, it's kinda crazy, but what if we practice together? And she's like, Jesus Christ, you're a genius. Let's do it right now, my place. And so they do. And I'm left confused. They partnered up. I thought them studying together and stuff was a given. What Shou thought was his role as a partner? Take Tsubasa home every day and stop her panic attacks? Well, hey, it's some progress. They decide to stop by a convenience store to get some snacks. While Shou does that, Tsubasa waits outside. I don't know why she didn't go inside too. Maybe she's like really bad at choosing snacks. Like her favorite snack is a licorice or something. She notices a girl with blue earrings that seems to watch her, and because this is a new character with a sprite, we know that she's someone important. It's official, folks. Tsubasa has a stalker. It turns out that Shinji is Shou's roommate. He promptly teases Shou with some innuendo. I could swear that happened before. Practicing magic actually goes very well for a couple of dummies. Shou sets fire to his textbooks. First, relatable. Second, he is happy because he didn't explode anything. Tsubasa goes to call Shinji and... So Shinji comes to the rescue, magics away the flames, congratulates Shou on setting his room on fire, and leaves again. We also find out that Shou is a hugger, because he hugs Tsubasa with no warning or respect for her personal space, as a thank you for helping him. At least he apologized for it later. Half apology, half threat really, because of the way he's phrasing it. Sorry, but I will probably do it again. At home, Tsubasa notices her stalker wishing her a good night through her window.
I'm here in the shadows.
Aww. But she gets distracted by her phone. It's her dad again. He tells us Shizuka decided to get off the grid. Oh no, her dad talks about her mom. Is she about to have another magic panic attack? Surprisingly, no, not even close. I guess she got over her PTSD. The next day, we get a confirmation that Shou is indeed an evil incarnate because he calls Tsubasa at 7:45 in the morning on Saturday. I am aghast. So much so that I'm not even annoyed that Tsubasa forgot something again. And she is late, again. So where are we going? Well, Shou and Shinji decided to take Tsubasa shopping to the magic part of the city, Chowa, they call it. It's like a pocket dimension where all the supernatural folk hang out. Shou grabs Tsubasa's hand out of nowhere, but even though she's bothered, she says nothing. The gang goes to get breakfast to this cafe, where we meet a very rude and noisy owner, a lady named Chisaki. Like, before even introducing herself, she asks if Tsubasa is Shou or Shinji's girlfriend. Mind your own business, lady. Like, literally. This was pretty annoying, so Tsubasa, fearing the competition in the insufferable category, fires back with extreme jealousy over mere thought of Shou having a girlfriend. Oof, that was a close one, folks. I have to call a draw. Anyway, our fierce competitor turns out to be Chisaki Yukimura, Tatsuya's mother. And because the plot demands it, the whole gang is here now. Tatsu was helping in a cafe and Taku was just sleeping here. Okay. Chisaki wants to have a second round, so she practically kicks out Tatsu and Taku so they can go and find girlfriends. This time Tsubasa has no counterattack. I'm sorry to say it, but Chisaki wins this battle of cringe. Tsubasa gets a gear crystal and now she can transform, just like the magical girls from them animes. She can also cast a shield around her. Her first practical application of magic. Then the gang goes to another cafe, the one Shizuka took Tsubasa to. Don't worry, she's fine, her PTSD is cured, remember? There, Tatsuya tells Tsubasa to get a job. Tsubasa doesn't have to, she's a rich girl. But because she's bored and because not much plot can happen only in college and her home, she decides to go for it. Conveniently, this cafe is currently hiring. Oh, and here goes the owner giving her application form to submit. Oh, and what's that? Shinji works here, so he will vouch for her. How lucky. Also, something so dumb it's hilarious happens. Taku stretches. And suddenly, Tsubasa recognizes him as her childhood friend. He's like, oh, you finally remember, tight. And then this revelation just gets brushed off. That's it. They childhood friends, moving on. Why was it even here? What was the reason? At the end of the chapter, our stalker makes a short appearance, but this part makes no sense. See, the whole story so far was told from the first person, as it happens. I went there, I thought that. Yet, just for this one sentence at the end of the chapter, it says, at the time, I don't even notice the girl sitting across from me with bright blue earrings. That only makes sense if the story is told in the form of flashback or something, you know, in foresight, but it's not. And this type of writing never happens in the root again. Just feels like writers forgot to put stalker somewhere, so they just slapped it in the end and called it a day. In the next chapter, we go back to the routine stuff. Yay! Shou is ignoring Tsubasa because he's having a play soon. Oh, did I mention that he's a drama major? He is. Tsubasa is all sad because he didn't tell her, and Taku, who is definitely not in love with Tsubasa since childhood, wants to cheer her up. So they go back to that fancy cafe. There, Tsubasa notices her charm is gone. The stalker strikes again. Oh my god, I can't with this girl. At least Tsubasa realizes something we knew for a while now. She has a stalker. But who has time for this boring bullshit? Shou asks her to come to the play. She goes, he's super good actor or something. She gets elbow checked by a blue earring girl, doesn't recognize her of course, gets intimidated by Shou fans, makes an attempt at English exit, but Shou notices her. They go home together, he takes her hand without asking again, and she decides not to say anything on that again. They decided to hang out and practice, and she thinks, oh my gosh, is it a date? It's very teenage drama. Oh wait, she's 20. Lots of dumb stuff in this one, folks. Shou wants to show something to Tsubasa, and the first thing that comes to her mind is that it's flowers. Why? Tsubasa has her back turned to Shou, so he tells her to turn around, you know, so she can see the thing he wanted to show her. And then, get this, he tells her to close her eyes. What did he wanted to show her? The darkness? But no, it's just a small fire he summoned. Why close her eyes then? Anyway, he showed her his, so she showed him hers. Powers, you pervert! She showed him her shield. Then they practiced for like 5 hours. And, probably because of the stress, more silliness happens. Tsubasa screams on Shou like, "You're so goddamn weak, never even scratched my shield once, you wuss. Try harder." So he does, and of course her shield is too weak and she yeeted it into the wall. Shou is panicking like, oh my god, I hurt someone again, I hurt her, oh no. She calms him down, he tells her about that time he was neglected as a child and his only friend was his nanny, and then he blew up his room by accident and his nanny too. It's okay, she lived. He also has super low self-esteem. I can't do anything right, I always hurt someone, I'm a failure. all that. She says all the cliché stuff. Don't say that. You're great. You're strong. You're kind. Blah blah blah. They get super close. Close enough to kiss even. They don't. No matter what choice you pick. She gets awkward and runs away. The next day is Tsubasa's first day at her job and she's horrible at it. Careless with the coffee machine, too busy staring at customers to take their order, almost drops stuff because she keeps thinking of Shou. It's embarrassing for her really. At the end of her shift she notices that blue earring girl and finally recognizes her as her stalker. So she snaps a picture of her to show her friends or maybe even police. Wait, Tsubasa, what are you doing? She wouldn't. Use your brain, Tsubasa. But she doesn't. I'm not sure she can. And runs off after probably stalker girl, alone, without a weapon. In the night, to the dark alley. What the fuck, Tsubasa? Of all the dumb things. Surprise! The stalker girl attacks her with black fire. Even bigger surprise, Tsubasa can't defend herself. Instead, she stumbles over the crate and falls. But it's okay. Shou comes out of nowhere to jump in front of the fire. He gets hurt, passes out. Stalker girl escapes. Hikaru, who is also conveniently here, takes Tsubasa home because she's too emotional. On one hand, he's kinda right, but on the other, feels kinda icky how he worded that. Like, women be emotional. We witness a rare moment of self-awareness by Tsubasa, but Shou texted her, so her brain regrets into shoujo mode. Why did Shou text her? Well, he wanted her to meet his researcher parents, because they might know about the stalker girl and her black fire. They do. They reveal that the dark phoenixes exist, and they use black fire. Normal phoenixes hate them. In bigotry kinda way. Shou's parents are also not happy about him getting hurt, and when they find out it was because of Tsubasa, they ask her to wait outside of the room, and then proceed to loudly talk about how sorcerers are bad luck and Shou should stop hanging around with Tsubasa. He does a full-on hero speech. No, I can't abandon her. I'm not like you. Rushes out, grabs Tsubasa's hand, runs away. Afterwards, he explains that sorcerers are considered to be bad omen and bad stuff always happens around them because they're cursed by other gods, and also their power comes from God of Chaos. This piece of lore is kinda interesting, but it also annoys me that it was revealed by Tsubasa's love interest, who's not involved with sorcerers at all. Like, couldn't she find this out on her own? It's her people, it's who she is now. But she couldn't bother to read a book or something. The man had to explain to her who she is. Why is she always just a passive observer? Isn't she supposed to be a main character? Anyway, they fight. Well, kinda sorta. Because Shou's relationship with his parents gets messed up again because of Tsubasa. At least she decides that. Everything about her, right? And Shou doesn't really disagree. The next scene really pisses me off. She's on the job, but she keeps thinking about Shou and fucks up every fucking task. Like, the dude orders cappuccino and a cake. She doesn't hear anything at first and asks him to repeat his order. He does, and she still gets it wrong. And as a cherry on top, breaks a fucking cup. It just slips out of her hand. Bitch, it's your job. Concentrate on it. Your love life can wait. The owner, Gavilan, rightfully tells her to take a hike and fucking focus. Two kinda important things happen on that hike. First, she gets a call from her sister, who reminds her of some party Tsubasa has to attend. Rich girl life. And then they talk about boys. What else sister can talk about, right? And second, she runs into a super hot stranger who kinda acts like he knows her, but no time for that. Her hike took nearly an hour, and I'm surprised she still has a job at this point. How is that so much happened, yet it feels like nothing happened at all? This route bores me. Tsubasa's and Shou fight didn't last long. 2 days later, he calls her and asks her out, but not really. See, he wants to hang out, just the two of them, but he doesn't date no more, so it's not a date. As Tsubasa so cleverly puts it, he asks her on undate. It's funny, and not cringe at all, shut up. We also get the only choice in this route that can actually change the story a little. Tsubasa can refuse to hang out and stay home, or she can go on a stupid undate with him. The hangout is super standard. They go to cafe where Chisaki is being her annoying, noisy self. Seriously, get a life, lady. Then they go to watch an action anime. Tsubasa also forgot she has to go on that rich people party, and if she's on a date with Shou, he will help her to buy an outfit, because she forgot to do that too. Oh, and he also has to go to that party. Convenient. The party is boring and nothing interesting happens until the host shows up. It's that super hot dude Tsubasa ran into on her hour-long break. His name is Julius, he asks Tsubasa for a dance and immediately reveals that he is actually evil and he wants to stab and torture Tsubasa and take her powers for himself. He's just like me for real. Tsubasa is scared and super hurt by Julius calling her fake and a doll, because she's a homunculus. So she runs off to gardens to have a mental breakdown. Shou follows her because of course he does, and hugs her while she cries. I have to admit it was pretty nice of him. By the way, a bug happened, and from this point and until the next CG, Tsubasa's sprite is missing. Not a huge loss. Surprisingly, Tsubasa tells Shou everything Julius said to her, and also explains the whole homunculus thing to him. He doesn't care much, but she still decides to avoid him and all other dudes from now on, because she doesn't want to put them in danger. But don't get too invested in this plotline because it's resolved immediately by the professor, who basically tells her not to decide for them. So in the next scene, she tells the gang everything. About Julius' threats, about her mother's ritual, about Tsubasa being a homunculus, about her powers, and, keep this in mind, her curse of immortality. The dudes also don't care much. Riveting. So, did you notice how we're on chapter 8 already and basically nothing happened? Well, writers also noticed, so now we're all speedrunning to the endings. Here we go! The next day, Tsubasa gets a text from Shou. He's at Julius' mansion because he wanted to snoop around while Julius is not there. Tsubasa immediately believes it to be true and runs off to mansion herself. She forgot her phone. She finds Shou all beaten up. It was a trap, who would have thought. Julius revealed to be a Dark Phoenix, and he also tells Tsubasa that he sent a stalker girl after her. Good thing too, Tsubasa would never have realized that herself. Julius ragdolls Shou away and keeps threatening Tsubasa. Tsubasa can't move. They fight for a bit until a broken column falls on Julius and kills him. Yes, really. The whole gang is here now, for plot reasons. Surprise! Julius is resurrected because he's a Dark Phoenix. 1,000 years old Dark Phoenix. He throws a fireball at Tsubasa and Shou jumps in front of her. Shou, she told you, like several times now, she's immortal, can't die. You can. So why the are you jumping in front of her instead of attacking Julius? Even Tsubasa realizes it. Tsubasa realizes it, Shou. You should be embarrassed. Yeah, he dies. For real. Hikaru can't heal him. Tsubasa cries, he almost tells her that he loves her and then turns into the ashes. Julius offered Tsubasa a deal. He will leave the gang and her family alone if she willingly stays in his mansion to be tortured. Remember the lesson she learned from Hikaru about not deciding for her friends? Well, she doesn't. She agrees. Julius keeps calling Tsubasa his little butterfly and I want to vomit. He wants to get to the torture stuff right away, but he can't because plot. No, because Taku broke his special dagger. Now he has to wait for a few days for replacement. This plot contrivance happened because we need another exposition dump. As a child, Julius was given to some cruel empress as a slave. Then he was a slave to another, more cruel empress. Then Dark Phoenixes started to appear and he also became one. By the way, we still don't know what's the difference between Dark Phoenixes and the normal ones, except the color of their flame and the fact that Dark Phoenixes can resurrect and normal ones can't no more. Anyway, now he wants Tsubasa's super strong powers so he can violence the oppression away and protect all Dark Phoenixes. That's that. Tsubasa's sad again because Shou is dead. And then wakes up bound to a chair. Told you we were speedrunning. Julius got his replacement dagger and it's time for the torture. He puts a brush on Tsubasa, it's supposed to absorb all of her powers, and gets ready for stabbing. He also brought Shou ashes, I guess so he can watch, I don't know man. He slices her hand, she heals. He slices deeper, she heals. He wants to stab her in the eye, but boom! Shou is back. He's Dark Phoenix now, he has wings and everything. Perfect time to confess their love to each other. Shou breaks the power brush and Julius is not happy about it. It was one-of-the-kind brush, so his plan is ruined now. That easy. They fight again. Of course Shou and Tsubasa win. Tsubasa even tears out Julius' wings and gives her girl boss speech about "Don't come near me, my friends, or my family ever again, or I will do worse to you." Girl, shut the fuck up. Feels super undeserved. Tsubasa passes out, for all time's sake. And finally, we get to the endings. I know it's been a long time coming, so let me edge you a bit more. Let's talk about choices. The MDSOA uses SrenPy engine. It's a free and very popular visual novel engine for indie developers. The game is mostly without bugs, except MC's sprites sometimes disappearing or sometimes getting their own name for the character speaking. But the choices are bug-free as far as I know. So how do the choices work in this game? It's a point system. There are 3 endings you can get: dark, mystical, and passionate. All 3 are valid endings, but the dark one has tragic/toxic vibes, mystical one focuses more on magical world, and passionate one is all about that cringe romance. So basically your every choice is between 3 options. First one adds point to dark end, second one adds point to passionate end, and the third one adds points to mystical end. And the amount of points are not always the same. It could be 1 point for dark end but 3 points to passionate end. After the last chapter, the game calculates your points and you get the engine you have the most points in. Pretty straightforward, no? System? Yes, but not the choices themselves. They are often way too similar to intuitively understand what engine they lead to. For example, Shou grabs Tsubasa's hand, and we have a choice between these options. Aren't those practically the same choice, just formulated differently? It's the exact same thing later in the route, when Shou is holding Tsubasa's hand again. Those are way too similar, right? But by the rule of thumb, if it sounds melodramatic, super horny, or kinda desperate, it leads to the passionate engine. If it sounds rude, like Tsubasa wants to be into some shady shit, or like she's not into dude at all, it leads to dark engine. If it sounds cold, blunt, and logical, or Tsubasa just really interested in supernatural stuff, it leads to mystical end. So to which endings do these choices lead to? Wait, bad ending 1? Yes, this game also has bad endings. Those are not real endings, but short game over endings, where things are going very wrong. All routes have them, some have more than the others. And you know how to trigger them? Way too easily actually. Usually, you only need 2 or 3 choices to get the bad ending. And the bad ending has the highest priority, probably because it happens before the end of the last chapter. So you can choose every option that leads to mystical end, but if you pick those 2 bad ending options, you will get that bad ending. And again, it has the same problem. Those game over choices are often way too similar to normal choices. Like the example with the hand, or later with Julius. All of these choices lead to Julius lore dumping on us, but the oh what the hell one leads to bad ending 1, and the karma one leads to bad end 2. What? Doesn't help that bad ends are not really connected to their choices in the plot sense. To explain that, let me tell you about Shou's bad endings. His route has 2 bad endings. To get the first one, you need to pick at least 3 of these choices. This one during hangout in Chowa, this one when Shou holding Tsubasa's hand after his drama show, this one when they're practicing at shows and he's worried that Tsubasa won't need him anymore, and this one when asking Julius about his backstory. If you choose these, then when Shou is supposed to epically come back to life and save our not damsel in distress, he doesn't. Julius says that to Tsubasa, and because she doesn't have any survival instincts and her will to live is tied up to a dude, she basically gives up on living. I assume that is what Julius wanted, you know, breaking her mentally and emotionally or whatever. So it's a bad end. How does it relate to the choices you have to make? In the both hand choices, she only thinks about saying something, but she doesn't. And the story progresses normally. There's nothing really to say choice is identical to another choice, which leads to the dark end. And oh what the hell, why not? Still gives you the same lore dump. So how's any of that connected to Shou not coming back? To get the second bad end, you have to pick 2 of these choices. This one, to Shou's uselessness. This one, when Shou asks Tsubasa on a date, and this one to Julius's lore dump. This bad end results in Shou coming back to life, but he's all twisted now. As Julius explains, everything he feels is inverted. So this super dark Shou says to Tsubasa that he hates her, chokes her for a bit, burns her a little. Kinky. This was enough for Tsubasa to break. Everything she is tied to her being loved by a dude, remember? Julius gets his power brush, Tsubasa dies. The end. At least these choices are a little more transparent. Tsubasa actively pushes Shou away twice, and his nice guy heart can't take it. But choices that leads to dark end is also Tsubasa pushing Shou away. So these are still too similar. Okay, that's enough teasing. Let's get to the real endings now. Since I already mentioned the dark ending, let's start with it. The choices to get it are Tsubasa pushing Shou away, but not too much, and also Tsubasa acting rash and impulsive, I guess. In this ending, Tsubasa gets another PTSD. It's okay, I heard those are easily fixed. and keeps thinking about Shou's dying. She gets super real nightmares about how it was just another of Julius's ploys, and Shou is dying again because of her, and she will be tortured now. She wakes up screaming, and she's so disturbed that she runs off to Shou's apartment still in her pajamas, bangs on his door like crazy, and is a sobbing mess in general. Shou calms her down. Exposition dumps on us how when he died he became a spirit, he tried to help but couldn't, and he returned to life because he saw Tsubasa get tortured and really wanted to help her. They proclaim their love to each other again and then go to sleep together. So I guess they're now trauma bonded and a bit unhealthily codependent on each other. Next, the mystical end. So Tsubasa is blunt and logical, as much as she can anyway. In this ending, Shou has a surprise for Tsubasa. He takes her for a flight on his cool new wings to something called Celestial Garden. Apparently it was a place where phoenixes of old came to pray to the stars, but now they don't have wings no more. Sorry, just to confirm, dark phoenixes are considered to be corrupted creatures by normal phoenixes. But normal phoenixes cannot resurrect, or don't even have wings, unlike dark phoenixes. And when Shou was resurrected, he said that stars deemed him to be a true phoenix, but he's now a dark phoenix. So dark phoenixes are actually true phoenixes, and that's why they've been discriminated against? Cool, got it. It is a common knowledge that more strong and powerful creatures are usually being bullied. Anyway, Shou and Tsubasa explore Celestial Garden and find an old temple. Inside is a small pool of starry water, but before they can touch it, a creature appears. They call themselves Jinan. They are the keeper of this place, and they're only here to dump some lore on us. And so they do. This pool is a celestial pool. It's connected to the universe or something. Phoenixes of old came here when they wanted to die for real. That's why Jinan stopped Shou and Tsubasa from touching strange water. After giving this piece of fascinating and super important information, Jinan disappears forever from this game. Shou takes advantage of this newfound privacy to tell Tsubasa he loves her and ask her to be his girlfriend. She agrees, they kiss. I guess mystic ending is for people who wanted some more world building. Lastly, the passionate ending. This one is really easy to get. Every horny, needy, cringe option leads to it. This end is basically Tsubasa and Shou going on their first real date. He buys them couple charms, they go to cafe. Unfortunately, Shou only has 2 cafes and Tsubasa works in one of them. That means we have to endure more of Chisaki noisy shit. Oh my god, are you guys finally dating? Aw, Tatsu will be super sad. She keeps insinuating that Tatsu likes Tsubasa even though there's like 0 evidence. Glad to have you as a cousin now. Right, Tatsu and Shou are cousins, it doesn't matter. What matters is Chisaki assuming these two will get married soon, even though they just started dating. Chill. After that awkward exchange, they go shopping for a bit, and then Shou takes Tsubasa to show her big scene. You know, the place where he was acting? There they talk about their futures. Shou decided to commit to acting, and Tsubasa never had any dreams anyway, so her dreams now is to be forever with Shou. Hey Tsubasa, remember the whole deal with your mom and immortality and huge powers? Maybe you wanna deal with that? No? Okay. Shou super dramatically, or should I say passionately, confesses his love to Tsubasa. She dramatically reciprocates and they kiss. Ugh. So these are the endings. But it's not the end of Shou's story yet. We still have Epilogue and his point of view stories to get through. I'm so sorry, I'll try to make this quick. Point of view stories is what it sounds like. We get Shou's point of view from the time he died. He turned into a spirit, got booted from the mansion. Only Shinji could see him, so he teleported to their apartment, where Shinji told him about Tsubasa's dumb self-sacrifice. We get some insecurity from Shou, if only I was stronger and all that, and then he asks Shinji to help him get back into the mansion. We already knew all that from the dark ending, so it doesn't really add much to the story. Epilogue is worse. For some ungodly reason, it's split into 3 chapters. The events happen 5 months after any ending. I assume the passionate one is canon, so let's go with that. Tsubasa takes Shou for a dinner with her dad and sister. Some dumb stuff happens. Her dad, Rokuro, asks her to fetch family albums from his office, where she finds a photo of young him and Shizuka. Apparently her dad lied to her about meeting Shizuka only after Tsubasa's birth. Literally the next second, he, Shou and Tsubasa's sister come into the room. Why would her dad just leave that photo there? Why did they wait exactly 10 seconds for her to get the albums and then come into the room like she was missing for half an hour? Never mind that, we have an exposition dump to get to. Rokuro met Shizuka when he was young. He fell in love at first sight, but she didn't care. So he pestered her, slowly chipping away at her defenses until she finally agreed to date him. A bit later, she told him about her immortality and dumped him. He married, got a daughter. After his wife died, he looked up Shizuka. Yep, They're easy. Get some pointers from him, Tsubasa. And found out about Tsubasa and Shizuka's plan to get rid of the curse. So all this time, he knew. He knew about supernatural stuff, knew about Tsubasa not being human, knew what Shizuka wanted to do with Tsubasa. He knew and did nothing. And he dares to say that he tried to be a good father to Tsubasa. Good fathers don't leave their daughters to be tortured. And for what? Shizuka left anyway. Obviously Tsubasa is hella angry and cuts ties with this selfish ass on the spot. But that would make too much sense, wouldn't it? Tsubasa doesn't really care about this betrayal. You know what she thinks? She's actually glad to finally hear her mother's story. She's glad her mother had reasons to curse her. She's glad that her dad really loves her. And her mother never hated her. She fucking forgives her. Because she was kinda nervous in the car and because, well, I met Shou. What the fuck? Oh. It's just her trauma, her nightmares and PTSD, poof, fucking gone. Her mother didn't take any responsibility for her actions. She just fucked off who knows where and left Tsubasa alone to deal with all this new shit. She neglected Tsubasa for all of her childhood. She didn't care about all these people who will hunt Tsubasa down for her powers. She didn't leave a diary or letter or something that would explain at least a little bit of how to control her nuke level abilities. She didn't bother to give Tsubasa another dose of potion or something, you know, so she wouldn't feel excruciating pain while you curse her. She didn't even fucking apologize. For Tsubasa, just to forgive her for all that bullshit out of nowhere, it pisses me off. It really does. Moving on. This chapter ends with Tsubasa and Shou smashing in her room, while her dad sleeps down the hall and her sister is probably gone to meet her boyfriend. Filthy. At least you have a choice to skip this cringe. This game really did need any kind of smart. In the next chapter, Tsubasa finally makes a fellow girlfriend, Amy, and she even manages to talk to her for 2 sentences about her favorite anime before she starts gushing about her boyfriend, and then immediately gets jealous when she realizes her super friendly and popular boyfriend already knows Amy. Amy has to reassure Tsubasa that they are, in fact, only friends. Pathetic. And then Shou gets insecure, again, and Tsubasa has to reassure him. By the way, this order of sentences better be unintentional. I'm just a normal woman. I need you in every way possible. Shut the hell up. They go on a date. Tsubasa thinks Shou is not showing all of him to her. Duh, leave men some privacy, damn. They see some phoenixes bully Tsubasa's stalker girl and try to defend her. Tsubasa talks big, but gets immediately captured and Shou has to save her. They fight off bullies, but also attract a big crowd of Dark Phoenix's haters and have to escape. They all fly to the Celestial Garden, where the stalker girl apologizes for, you know, stalking Tsubasa. She tells them that Julius became a hermit and Dark Phoenixes are now scattered. And then she has the nerve to ask Shou and Tsubasa to lead them. They give non-committal reply and then go to Celestial Pond, where Shou tells Tsubasa about his insecurities, that's new, about being a Dark Phoenix and his parents treating him like a subject now. Tsubasa promises to stay with him and support him forever. They go to her apartment and they watch a movie. The also long-awaited end. Okay, so that was not what I expected. The pacing in this route is really bad. 80% of it is boring and 20% of it is rushed. There's so much infuriatingly dumb and annoying stuff. I don't think I really like any of the characters. And romantic moments are not cute, but cringe. But it's my fault, really. Sometimes I get my expectations way too high and end up getting disappointed even if the thing is actually decent. Maybe that's the case here. My view is distorted because I expected better, but it doesn't mean it's bad. And you know, it's just the first route. You rarely get good results on the first try, right? And maybe I'm being too harsh on Tsubasa and Shou. After all, people really do be insecure and scared and forgetful and cringe and dumb. I really should be keeping an open mind. Look, I'm going to read the next route and I will probably like it a lot more. Who's next? Yes, that's a resident tsundere nerd. I like tsundere trope most of the time, so I'm sure it will be fun. Let's do it. In the next video that is, because this one is getting way too long and I don't want to annoy you with my voice just yet. So stay tuned for that. If you like this video, consider subscribing, leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments below, and if you made it this far, maybe leave a like, yeah? Thank you for watching. Have a good one.